Hello everyone. Today we are doing perspective and we are drawing some simple objects in perspective. And we are doing this in Clip Studio Paint. So we'll be discussing the methods that can be used to construct environment, to construct a space in Clip Studio Paint. Let's go. So first thing first, we need a ruler. Here they are. You can press View button to open them, or just find it here. And we need perspective ruler. So with this ruler, we can create a line like this, and it doesn't do anything. But if we make a second line that intersects our first line, we will have this. This is a vanishing point. You see a little cross here, and you can see the line of horizon here. Now, what this ruler does is that it makes every line point to our vanishing point, which can already be used to construct some simple objects if we want to. So here we have some flying objects. You can see that what we're dealing with here is a one-point perspective. So we have only one vanishing point. We don't have anything else on the side, just very simple perspective. Already, this can be useful to draw something like a truck entering a tunnel or a building from below, something like that, right? So it can be pretty useful on its own. More importantly, however, this is a very good tool, and this exercise is a very good way to learn this tool, right? Because we are not doing it with our innate ability, we're using a ruler to construct space. Now that we did this, let's try something more complicated. And once again, we have the perspective ruler, and we will create one vanishing point. Here it is. And now we will aim to create another one. So here it is. Now we have two vanishing points, and we can build objects using them like this. So if I wanted to draw something like a building here, this is what the base would look like, right? We have vanishing point on the right and vanishing point on the left. So we have 2-point perspective because there are 2 points. Again, this was all done by simply using a ruler. So don't neglect these tools, and they're very, very powerful. But now that we know about the tools, let's do something more interesting. New layer once again, we have the ruler. And now what I'd like to make is obviously a room, which will be from above, kind of like in a game, right? And in order to have this view from above, we need to have third vanishing point. So I will draw a cube now or something like that. And you can see that we have 2 vanishing points on the sides, here and here, but we also have one below. So if we were doing something like a floor layout, right, I could go like this. So we're having some sort of space here. For example, here below. We won't draw any ceilings. We will just create this maze-like space. And by just connecting these dots, we can find our floor like this. So here it is, right? And we have a door here. This is pretty useful because doors have fixed height, right? Somewhere around 2 meters in height, which means that by dividing it like this, we can find what 1 meter would look like, because I divided it in two by using intersecting diagonals. And using this, we can project points in space to find what 1 meter of height would look like when projected on a wall. And we could use this, for example, to make a sofa. I disabled the ruler because I want to search for the shape. And the thing with the perspective ruler is that it forces our line to align with perspective, which is very useful, but it can be a nuisance kind of, right? Because the lines, you won't be able to do curves, you won't be able to do circles. Let's make some sort of window here. There can be a table here in the corner. Let's return to using our perspective. Could be used for a lamp or something. We can also have some shelves here. So what I'm doing is just adding objects, trying to keep in mind the relative height and size of the objects. I'm making very simple objects. I'm not drawing anything curved right now. I'm just creating the general layout. Like, could be a picture on the wall, for example. And we can draw adjacent rooms, right? Like this. This is outer facing wall. So what's outside is, for example, the street. Maybe some other buildings. By the way, if I wanted to know how big would be the window there, I'll need to just point the lines like this, but this is way too far. So kind of like this. We also have another room here, and we can connect the upper side of the door here, and now move here. And from here, we're drawing the second door frame. I'll use hatching just to show you which surfaces are vertical, which surfaces are in the shadow. This isn't render, I'm just doing it for visual comprehension. Now we have another room, and this one could be way bigger. So, and of course, in order to find this far side wall, we have to connect this room before us to the other room. And now we have this big space. I don't know, maybe a dancing hall or something. Again, we need the windows to be even. So we kind of projecting the lines like this. We could have two windows like this, here and here. Or maybe it's something like a classroom, and we could make tables, which would be a little bit bigger, and you could kind of cut them out of this huge rectangular shape, right? So you are creating a basic shape, and then you cut the tables out of the shape, which can work, right? Again, I'm working from a big distance. I don't zoom in, and I'm creating very simple shapes, but you can always do this and draw some details, right? Getting some contents for the table, right? But this should be done when you have the general layout. And because we don't have it yet, I'm just adding objects, right? And here we have two more tables. And we know that all this space we have here hidden by a wall. So there will probably be one more table here, but hidden. And in order to remind you that this space can be seen, I'll be adding some thicker lines and hiding the lines here inside the walls. There could be some chairs here. Again, I'm just finding their relative size and drawing very simplified positions. I just need to know their height. And I can draw an actual chair, realistic looking, etc., later, right? Next, we can use these lines to find some more tables. For example, they are standing in rows like this. Here and here. This one is closer to us, so it's bigger. Of course, we could project our chairs like this. And that's enough for a general layout, right? Because we could draw add details, add render, now that we have a map of our area. Again, I'm using perspective ruler, so everything kind of works automatically. Now we have one more room here, and we could add some fillings, but we could also do this. So we have our relative height of the door. So I'm projecting these lines here and this line here. I'm doing that to know what height would be there if it was placed like this. Actually, let's do this. Let's place it. And now, of course, I'm saying go, but there's no actual door. We're just drawing door frames for now. We could add some doors later if we so wanted. But now we can add another line a little bit lower than the door, project it like this, and create a rectangle of this height. And what can this be used for? For example, we would know that this rectangle cuts in half here. So we could add the person here, knowing that their pelvis will be here. Their legs will be very small in perspective, right? But their rib cage and head would be a little bit bigger because of the perspective. So kind of like this. And this is actually something that can be done everywhere. For example, let's assume that this next person will be the same height. Rotate their box a little bit. So this is the box for another person. And again, divide in two, find the pelvis. So there will be head like this. Now we can confidently say that this is the beginning of their legs. This is their shoulders and arms, etc. Now we can also make some lines smoother by disabling the rulers. So we press here and we press show ruler. The check is negated, is disabled, and now we can like draw a sofa that would look more like a sofa, for example, if we wanted to. Here it is, for example. Again, with this table here, we can now define its surfaces better. We can add some chair here. Maybe it's an office chair. Again, I'm just sketching, but I'm trying to keep the general layout of the place in my mind to have all the heights correspond to each other, so that this space confers to logic, right? There could be a computer here, for example. Maybe it's bright, maybe it's on. Maybe there's a keyboard here. So we're just sketching, and we're just trying to figure out what we're drawing and add some specific corrections that make our objects work logically in the scene. And here we have it. This is a very, very basic tutorial about using perspective rulers from Clip Studio Paint in our drawings, in case we wanted to make some environments. This is what we will use. I'm trying to use shadows right now just to separate vertical planes from horizontal planes, basically these ones, from walls, so that it will be easier to understand how the space works here, because I add a lot of details and the drawing is hard to read. Again, this isn't done for viewer's pleasure. This is done for myself, because if I understand better the direction of the planes of our walls, I can understand better where do I draw. So this is kind of being done for my own survival in this picture. Again, pretty hard to separate this plane without marking its tone. So here you have it. A very simple tutorial about constructing 3-point perspective in Clip Studio Paint using perspective rulers.